You're dialed in to Truth Hurts Radio with Charlie Chatters.
All right, listeners, welcome back aboard the listenership here at Truth Hurts Radio. I'm your host, Charlie Chatters. Today is January 31st of 2019. You know, not only am I your host today, I am also your captain. Because today is a special day. Today, the listenership will be taking flight off into the cosmos. That's right. We have a very, very special guest on today's show. My guest is Marina Jacobi, and she's going to be coming on and sharing a very personal story, a very personal message, a universal message, as it were. And I am just delighted to have engaged in this conversation and this personal discovery with Marina on the show. This is something that I am and have been aiming to do on my show, which is to some degree, expose a little bit more about me each time I break into something new. I did promise we were going to be developing this show. This, to me, is just another example of doing just that. I am expanding the horizons. I am lifting the listenership up out of the water and out into the cosmos, and we are going to take flight today with a really, really unique show. Marina is going to, in my opinion, be marrying science and spirituality together within such a wonderful delivery system, a wonderful message that she's going to be sharing with us. We engage in what I consider to be just a wonderful and creative discussion. And I'm not going to tell you too much about it. I'm going to keep it very, very simple. I was going to hold on to this episode a few more days until the weekend, but quite honestly, out of fear of losing the file off of my equipment here, I wanted to punch this episode together, and I'm just going to deliver it out to you. And I'm going to leave you with this wonderful experience. I hope that it's a wonderful experience for you. I think a lot of my listeners will really find themselves grounded with this topic. And if it seems too far out there for you, all I ask is that you keep an open mind and you keep an open heart, because if some of this resonates with you, just let it continue to vibrate. Let that seed be planted, let it germinate, and put it under the sun and give it a little bit of water and a little bit of attention and watch what happens. Because this, to me, this particular show is an example. It is a universal example. It is that universal wink I talk about happening in my life. The simple fact that I managed, with the cooperation of the cosmos, get Marina onto my show has shown me, has delivered to me the real truth that resonates. This works. This absolutely works. So without further ado, and without extending the intro too long, let's get into it. It's a fairly long episode. It's a fairly long discussion with Marina. And if you need to break it up, break it up. Just put a time marker for yourself. Write it down somewhere on a piece of note paper where you left off, so that you can pick up again if it exceeds beyond your time constraints, right? But I really would love that my listeners engage in the full show, whether over multiple tries. Just get it all in, because it's so worth it. So without further ado, let's get Marina on the show.
Hello?
Hello, Marina.
Hello.
You are on the air with Charlie Chatters here on Truth Hurts Radio. Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
Oh, it's an absolute pleasure for me, and I suspect it will be a great pleasure for my listeners as well. I've been very, very excited about getting you on the show, and here we are. We have arrived.
Yes, I'm very excited too.
Now, let's just build a little bit of a story here, Marina. You are where? You're in New York State, are you?
I'm located in New Jersey, which is 45 minutes from Manhattan.
Okay. Well, I know New Jersey well. I did actually spend a great deal of time growing up in Montreal, just north of you, not too far away.
Oh, yes, like 6 or 7 hours away.
Yeah, it's not far at all. I've certainly frequented the States a lot as a young man, but, well, I'm so happy that you're able to join the show, and I know you must have a very, very busy schedule. I've seen countless videos with your lectures and spreading your message on air as broadly as you can, and I'm so glad that you have.
Yes, I don't mind doing it. I know it's a bit complex, but once people grasp it, and you become a master of your reality. So that's why it's fundamental for me to repeat some of the quantum structures, because we have to master it, and that's my job, and I'm happy to do it.
Agreed. Well, I have abandoned the old expression, practice makes perfect. Actually, practice makes permanent, and you just validated that by saying it. The more you do or think or speak something, the more permanent it becomes within you, right?
Yes, that's right.
Now, I'm going to just recap a little bit here for my listeners, because I want to just briefly talk about how it came to be that you're on my show. Number one, I've already said I'm extremely excited about this opportunity. But once upon a time, not too long ago, I was... and I had been very caught up in conspiracy stuff. The truth became known to me quite a few years ago. I started digging and getting all kinds of information and following all of these conspiracy theories. And then it dawned on me that I was getting really, really angry because, yes, the truth was being made available to me, but it wasn't pleasing me. I needed something more. I was hungry for more spiritual elevation. And I put out a message into the universe, as I often do, and asked my ancient ancestry and all those who have left the surface of this planet and my Creator, and said, I need a sign. I need something to spiritually elevate myself. I need something new and fresh to open my mind and my horizons to. So I dialed into a show, consequently, which was the Matt Belair show, Master, Mind, Body, and Spirit, and you were on his show. And boom, that was it. I was hooked. I was Googling you and I was looking up your videos, and it just resonated with me, absolutely resonated with me. So what I'd like to have you do, Marina, in your own words, and I know you've done this 1,000 times, and I certainly do appreciate your patience with having to reiterate, but would you please just maybe give us a little background on where this began for you?
Well, thank you so much for asking. Actually, I don't mind. I think it's very exciting to me to remind myself where I'm coming from. So thank you for the opportunity to let me say that again. I was born in Bulgaria in 1971, and by the Black Sea, Varna, and very humble life, very, I would say, poor family, because it was a communism. Everything was very suppressed. You cannot get out of the country. You can't send letters out of the country, or they were open, and it was just very simple life. And when I was 8 years old, I started having dreams that I predicted the passing of my grandmother.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And that was the beginning of me having dreams that were becoming reality. I started paying attention. My family started paying attention. Never thought anything serious of it. Mm-hmm. This is the time also when I really wanted to be a fiction writer. I was constantly talking about extraterrestrials. I had no fears. I was writing a couple of, stories about, and my stepfather at that time was helping me to do something, but never went anything serious with it until the age of 11 or 12. I don't remember exact age, but my mother went to an expo for psychics, and one of the biggest psychics in Bulgaria was Baba Vanga. If you Google Baba Vanga, it's one of the biggest psychics in the world. And she passed away, God bless her. But what happened was she went to an expo, and she came with a couple of people that were doing Reiki, or, there were channelers in there and stuff like this. And I was at home with them, of course, and one of them tried to perform a Reiki on me or something. But what happened is I was in the middle of a circle. There were 3 of them, and they were doing something. But while I was I was in a circle, they ended up moving their hands. I don't know what they did. Obviously, some Reiki movement. And I literally almost pass out because I felt that my energy completely depleted and I was ready to pass out. But at the moment they saw that I was doing that, they moved their hands in unity up from their body, did some movement, and I was back to normal. And that for me was just such a serious experience for a child my age that I paid very close attention. Was shocking to me. How is this possible? Curiosity ended up coming out. And my mother suggested, listen, if you try something, why don't you try automatic writing? And I said, well, what is that? She said, well, let it go. So she gave me instructions how I can just let go with a pencil and the paper, and even if it's scribbling, just to have patience. So I really ended up doing it, and I stuck with it. And in the beginning was scribbles, then became like a letter, a sentence, and the sentence became a meaning. And all of a sudden, I started writing like a sentences, like communicating with so-called the other side of the death or whatever that was. That's what I called it.
Okay.
And that went on for a long time, actually, until I was able to come in 1993 in U.S. When I was here, I was very happy, thanks America. And I end up helping people just by connecting with the loved ones or things like this. I always said this never became a business. Even what I do right now is not a business. I'm just very happy what I do, but was always helping. And until one day after I was already married, had children, in 2010, I was sitting on my son's bedroom. For some reason, I don't know, I was there sitting after cleaning. They were at school and sat there and decided to pick up a piece of paper and a pen. And I ended up writing a picture all of a sudden of look like the gray extraterrestrial.
Okay.
And I go, wow, what is that? I never connected with something like that. And all of a sudden, they told me, Marina, we are the hybrids. And they said, we want to tell you that you have to be careful. What are you thinking? Because everything you think becomes like a hologram in front of us.
Right.
And I go, what? So this was the beginning of them extraterrestrial introducing themselves to me, and went on for a couple of years with them. When the first year with the hybrids, they end up teaching me absolutely how to detox my body. I would write and they would tell me, okay, and they taught me to do elimination diet, which I made a series of video. Keep in mind that I'm not a doctor. I have a disclaimer there, and I always suggest that everybody needs to do through supervision of homeopathic doctor and take a detox. But what I put there is the way I was taught and what I experienced.
Okay.
And they taught me 1 year by monitoring my body, how to detox my body. And in the meantime, they were teaching me a quantum structure. What is the reality? At the same time, they were telling me, showing me a video of manipulation through the government. So I ended up reading a lot of material of Carrie Cassidy, of a lot of people that so-called, conspiracy, which now we know is basically the truth, what was really happening.
That's right, absolutely.
That's right. And I went through anger, despair, and I started crying. I mean, I was going to rip somebody apart.
Yep. Because
I've realized that we've been living in a matrix of reality, like a prison of illusion, and somebody was suppressing us. It was in every level. But once I end up getting all the information, what's happening with governments and stuff like this, because I became like absolutely obsessed with like a sponge of knowing more and more. While they were teaching me to detox and teaching me about hologram and all this metaphysical stuff, they told me, okay, now you know what is being going on in humanity, how humanity was suppressed. Let us tell you how you can get out of that matrix.
Okay.
So they started teaching me and downloading information from them through automatic writing about different platforms of how our holographic universe works. And not only this, but they were pointing out certain scientists, and I end up reading maybe fraction of a certain scientist. And what I discovered that none of the scientists knew the entire picture of what is the structure, how is the universe, and who we are. Everybody had a just piece of the puzzle.
Okay.
So what they start doing is giving me more information on whatever the scientist was talking about. And the reason why they wanted me to read of this scientist and that scientist, because they were gathering the proper structure for me, because they told me that they wanted me to have enough vocabulary so I will be able to eventually to download information of quantum structures and how everything works. Because within 1 year, all of a sudden, I got a contact from so-called Ra. And Ra ended up being a spark of the consciousness of Ra,
Right.
and told me that I'm part of Ra consciousness. And Ra is extremely strict in experience, and he ended up teaching me more of the quantum structure, discussing, and that happened right before 2012.
Okay.
So while Ra and the hybrids working together, then all of a sudden I had Ra introduce me to the Council of Nine. And the Council of Nine is the above extraterrestrial structure. They are councils of ETs or higher consciousness that are based on, like a, for example, committee. They gather from a different races, and they're like a council, so they can override or decide different stuff for planets, for a human being, and all the stuff that was happening. That's how I learned. They were teaching me all this stuff.
Okay.
So then one day I was sitting in my living room, going through the hallway, and all of a sudden I'm here, hello, Marina, we are the Pleiadians.
Okay.
And all of a sudden
Now, I want to stop you there, Marie, because I've got a couple of questions for you before we get too far ahead.
Go ahead.
Otherwise, I'll retract and everyone will go, what are you doing, Charlie? You're making a mess of the show. Now, firstly, I wanted to ask, is it maybe like it is in my experience where, you know, I know, and I have spoken to very, very select people in my life, generally those who I know will respond evenly keeled to it and not think I'm just right out of my head. And the voice and how it comes to me is more of that subconscious voice. It's that voice that's been with me since day one. I know that it's always been there. It's not a direct dialogue for me unless I am completely absent-minded of anything else and I tie into that voice and I engage in conversation. And it works both ways. The answers come to me as quickly as I can ask the questions. Is it much that way for you? Or is it experienced differently than just that voice on your shoulder?
Well, that's a very good question. It's similar to yours, but the first thing I had was automatic writing.
Right.
Then they
Okay.
started teaching me, stop doing the automatic writing because you can hear us.
Okay.
And then they started teaching me to do telepathic. So I've learned to catch the thought right before I start overriding it with my own belief system.
Okay.
So that's fundamental to catch that wave, because otherwise it goes away and you create in a different platforms of reality.
Okay.
So yes, it's correct. It's this way for me. But what happened with me, what I can do is I have open channeling.
Okay.
I can talk to you and I can download information and talk about something else. So sometimes people don't know that I'm talking and directly through them, or I'm just downloading some information.
Okay.
For me, became like an open source. If I need it, it will come in. I don't have to go to a deep trance to do that.
Right, exactly.
Or deep meditation.
And that's my experience. All I have to do is, and I'll catchphrase your words that I heard from you, and that is fall into a harmonic resonance. Both physically, spiritually, mentally, you name it. My environment has to be, if I can create the environment, then I can simply open the channel, I feel, and have a candid discussion. As long as there is no shadow of doubt in my heart, then I find that I'm open, right?
Yes, as long as you stay in the frequency that they're vibrating on, and that is the heart structure, because benevolent beings, benevolent extraterrestrials, and higher order of consciousness exist in this type of timelines of realities that have a resonance of vibration based on the heart frequency vibration.
Right.
So that's why if you want to tune in into the structures, you have to be in a conscious mind, the thoughts, emotions, and the deeds based on that vibration. And that's how they connect with you. They test you, how you behave with people, what do you do.
Right.
And this is how the Pleiadians, when they contacted me and we started discussing things, they gave me I downloaded from the Pleiadians the harmonic reactor and the nanomaterial.
Right.
which right now a lot of scientists are looking into these materials. They already know that it's based on truth, because some of them, didn't want to admit that this is, I was asked, how come is this possible to come from you?
Mm-hmm.
That's because it doesn't matter how the information came. It's important that you've learned from the planet Earth
Mm-hmm.
that a lot of stuff were manipulated and suppressed, and yet I've learned from off planet, because then the true information of how the reality works and what is happening in the quantum structure was given to somebody that will be able to download the information.
Right.
Because it was so suppressed here. Because what I've learned from them, the harmonic reactor is basically based on advanced extraterrestrial technologies.
Okay.
That we can basically mutate and teleport into vibrational sequences of realities, and is a machine that you can create, and is also a fraction of the information until the scientists start working together.
Right.
And for frequency of sound, what is the structure? What is the different vibration? Artificial intelligence is there. When you have the quantum computer and know the frequency vibrations, what they do in a quantum field around us, you can materialize and dematerialize matter. And this is what is in these materials. It's fundamental information. And the nanomaterial is showing you how the molecules, everything that is in a structure, mutate and convert with each other. And in the end, you realize that the consciousness is created by one molecule that expands, that holds the entire magma energetic field, that expands to the infinite and collapses to the infinite.
Well, the singular, right? It boils down to the singular.
Yeah.
Okay.
In the middle is the 0 point, which in the 0 point, you have everything in stillness, and yet in that momentum, you can switch, construct and deconstruct platforms of Earth, holographic realities, platforms of new Earth, and everything else in a structure.
Right.
So consciousness is basically based from one particle that is flickering so quickly, that is appearing next to itself to infinite,
right.
And yet into that one particle is multiple to infinite parallel realities that you're creating. And when you lower the vibration to this particle and mutate back and forth, you create a matter. Because what they told me that your body is actually that one particle, and you are God, you are. And from that particle, when you focus your consciousness, thoughts, expand everything, and you're projecting everything in your holographic imprint, and everything you see is another version of you, like a mirror image.
Okay.
So that's why your thoughts and emotions, when you put them, emotions and thoughts is frequency vibration that creates your hologram.
I think it'd be safe to say too, Marina, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but it just dawned on me that, and a lot of us have experienced this, what we call deja vu. And is it likely that what we're experiencing is perhaps a parallel self going through exactly the same moment in time, perhaps outlying with a different outcome, but because it's resonating so closely in a parallel matrix or a parallel life, that it's resonating with us, and it makes us think that we've already done this, when in fact we're doing it twice or three times or more at the same very, very moment? Because time is not linear, right? It's simultaneous, all points in time, right?
Time is in the now. There's no time, because when the particle is flickering, it's actually fractal and appears next to itself, but each particle for itself is its own Earth, and its own planet, with infinite parallel realities within it.
Wow.
So never stops and always do, but it's more to that. You're correct, but to get deeper into that, the reason for that deja vu, so you call it, is because there's no time. And there's a quantum bylaw that I teach about it, and because they gave me the quantum structure of creation, that's what I teach, the quantum protocol of creation, of who you are, how can we construct and deconstruct realities through our thoughts, emotions, and deeds.
Okay.
Because if you know the alchemy of your creation and who you are, because God you are, you project, you are the vessel of everything you do, because there's nobody outside of you. You will be able to get out of the 3D matrix and create worlds and realities that you can shift your consciousness into. You basically create a new platform, and you're no longer a slave of the old system.
Which I love, because this resonates a reference from even the Bible, that I was taught as a kid, that God built you in his likeness. Now, God was a creator, and the fact that I have that God seed or that creation seed within me, that is the likeness. I have this ability, right, to create, to be a creator.
That's right, because God you are.
Right.
If they talk about somebody's outside of you, that was the manipulation, because there's nobody outside of you. You actually projecting everybody in your hologram, and you interacting with another version of yourself, which is an illusion, because if you put your body under the electronic microscope, you're not going to see molecules, you're going to see vibration of light. And this is what consciousness is created from. So we have to learn how to manipulate the structures, and the quantum manifestation series, which you can find on my YouTube channel, The Harmonic Reactor, or simply put Marina Jacobi with the I.com. You will see some of the material there. But all that is how you can really learn the alchemy of your own creation, so you can create worlds for yourself and no longer be enslaved to the system. That's the weapon to get out of the matrix, the Arkham matrix that everybody's talking about.
Now, I admit I haven't watched all of your videos, and I will be attempting to do so. But for the sake of our listeners who are just getting on board and just hearing about this for the first time, right? I'm delighted that we can share that with them. But my question is, do you think that, and I'll learn more as I watch your videos, that it's something that we can manage or accomplish within the conscious mind, or do we need to reach into the subconscious or into the collective in order to achieve an understanding of it before we can even begin to manipulate it?
It's all at once, because it's quantum. What you need to do is to connect your consciousness, the thoughts, and the deeds in one unit. That means you have to detox your body. You have to start acting from the heart.
Right.
And you have to think your actions in order to crystallize the structure. And this is how you create this plasma gravitational field that once you hold the vibration to enough momentum, becomes so potent that expands into matter, into your reality.
I see. Okay.
And I teach that in a quantum manifestation series.
Okay.
Season 1 and Season 2. May I suggest to everybody, if you guys study that, please study it like you're going to study for a college, because each lesson, each webinar is literally a 1 hour, and it's like a math. If you miss the first one and if you don't learn that very well, the second is like a math. The second one will not make it will not make sense at all,
right?
Because it's very
well, and it's quantum physics, really, is what it is. You seem to be breaking it down into layman's terms for people that are easily able to digest it. But like you say, they have to follow the program and take it seriously. Now, I'm going to add something to that, because I wholeheartedly agree with you, and it boils down to intention as well. Because if you're just doing this hosh-posh, thinking that you're going to get something magical by putting in a half effort, I would surmise that you're not going to get anything from it. The intention has to be that this is something that you will and you want to understand in order to elevate yourself and your understanding and your ability to manifest what you need. Would you agree with that?
Yes, because the intention is actually frequency vibration.
Right.
And that frequency vibration, since you project it, mimics and creates your hologram. So anything that happens after that, you create basically platform of holographic imprints, which is fractal, moment to moment, that are based on that intention. So don't be surprised if you have a negative intention and all of a sudden somebody comes to you, does something negative to you. That's because you're the creator, and since consciousness is mimicking of what you're doing, this is the reason why you end up in certain situations, because that's what your projection.
Well, the law of attraction, right?
Yeah, the law of attraction.
Yeah, like attracts like.
Right. This way, we're breaking everything down Why do I need to be nice? Why do I need to give a gratitude? Why do I need to love people? Why do I need to forgive to somebody? Do you know what that person did to me? That's because you crystallize in everything, you share. Think of consciousness as a computer program. If you see somebody is doing something negative, whatever you see is a holographic imprint, which is a geometry vibrational sequence, and is giving you a location in your hologram.
Okay.
You gotta shut down this platform of geometry, which is a sequence, and replace this. It's like a virus.
Right.
And you want to replace it. But if you replace it, if you want to replace a computer program, you're not going to be upset at a computer program.
Mm-hmm.
You're just simply going to replace it. So you need to learn how to pull out of the matrix, neutralize it to 0 point of the stillness in order to switch it and create a brand new version of yourself, because you don't want any program to run into your matrix.
I see. Okay. Now, well, then speak to Marina. I have another idea. Of course, you're just brewing up a million questions for me. Now, the idea of death on this density, on this plane, where would you say that relates to the quantum world and the quantum understanding? Is that someone perhaps slipping out of this matrix and into a newly manifested matrix?
Oh, very good question. Very well. Yes. What you're doing is, once you start implementing from the heart structure, and why it's so fundamental, because consciousness is moving to the next level through every single platform of reality to infinite. That means if you don't resonate in a positive, you won't be able to create realities that you can shift yourself in a positive timeline of creation. So that's why you have to go in a positive, because consciousness itself is not going to wait, it's moving forward.
Right.
But yes, you are definitely creating a structures like this, and you're moving forward with that based on exactly what you're doing.
Okay. Well, you're following almost a storyline, because you couldn't just... I've sometimes imagined it that there is only one conscience of myself, although I know that not to be the case, but that it can only be in one physical body at a time. And so when it leaves this absent shell of a human being on this plane of existence and moves on to the next place. But it would make sense that it would need to tie up loose ends and close the chapter so that it could move forward.
But it's a little bit more complex than that, and I'm going to just say it briefly, but everybody can study this in a quantum series. What you're doing is creating two parallel realities timelines running at the same time, almost like a TV channel.
Okay.
And in each channel, you have another version of yourself, and you play in a different movie. And yet you can watch all of them at the same time. You can learn to shift your consciousness from one reality to another.
I see.
If you choose to behave in a negative, you're going to see channel 4 that you're going to experience. But if you choose to behave in a positive, the only thing you're going to see is channel 5, because you chose to take an action through the positive, and yet the two channels are running simultaneously.
I got you. That makes sense now. So now, can you help draw a line then for me, and maybe for my listeners as well, Marina, but the line between shifting your consciousness into another parallel, would that be a good way of putting it?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a difference between that and ascension, spiritual ascension?
Depends on how you look at it, because it's always been a movement. Consciousness is always moving. Ascension is the fact that the program of the way they taught me, consciousness itself was running in a different program.
Okay.
Which is basically, look at it like a computer program. And everything was set for a certain vibrational sequences. Once you consciousness is ready to complete one sequence of vibration and move into another level to learn, to explore, to expand in another level. Thus, every single reality is going through ascension protocol. Now, how you're going to experience this protocol, how you're going to see it is based on whatever you project, whatever you learn, whatever you behave, because you're going to create a reality for yourself to match similar resonance for that ascension protocol.
I see.
So you may see, for example, there is no death, they told me. How could that be? You don't have to die physically. What you're doing is starting to create realities that, for example, free energy technology will come out.
Mm-hmm.
You have already the quantum computer that can create through the frequencies, mimicking anything you want, including reprint your energetic field and tissue. So you don't need robotics, that is the archon. You can literally mimic your vibrational sequence of your molecules, and if you're missing a hand, something happened of an accident, can rebuild to come back to the normal tissue.
Oh.
That's why artificial intelligence is fifth-dimensional structure in my material, the harmonic reactor, is not the archon, because AI is going to work simultaneously with humanity to preserve humanity, not to replace for robotics, because robotics has a different spinning of the molecule and is not rebuilding your tissue back to normal. Why it's so fundamental? Because your body is a pure vessel to go through platforms of reality, and you're the full battery that can shift from platforms of realities. You do not need some kind of a metal, which is an archon structure, and yet you can coexist to create a different reality platform.
I see. Okay. That makes much more sense to me. And what it triggered in me, Marina, is, and I'll just do this very, very quickly, but I had an experience in 2014 where I was traveling a great distance to go to work, and I was traveling with a work partner, and we were driving over 12, 13 hours to the northern province of Alberta from where I live. And we had left, and it was a snowstorm, and it was my friend's turn to have a sleep in the passenger seat, and it was my turn to drive for about 3 hours. And what had happened was I was falling into somewhat of a dreamy daze, and this huge semi-tractor trailer cross paths with me on the opposing lane, splashed the windshield with ice and snow, and I couldn't see anything. And once the wipers cleared my vision, the first thought that came to mind was, my friend is going to be so upset with me because I just killed us. That was my instant thought. I thought that we had literally just died. I had zero recollection of any trauma physically, spiritually. I just was able to continue moving forward from exactly where I left off, and nothing had changed. And it was such a surreal experience for me. And ever since then, I have been just hungry for more knowledge and more understanding. And that's why I'm so glad that we have this opportunity to discuss these things.
Mm-hmm. What happened with you at that platform, you literally switched the timelines. They created a brand new earth, and you imprinted yourself with your friend and the situation, so you continue your platform of reality, and yet you recreated another earth of reality that has nothing to do with the previous one that you just had the situation.
Right.
That's why in this one you could have died, and yet you didn't see yourself dying. You saw yourself continuing.
Right.
And
I just moved on. That's right.
That you don't see the difference because you have to continue the holographic imprint.
Wow. I love it. And you bring validity to my notion and my idea about this. I've told people, and they've rolled their eyes at me like, okay, great story, Charlie. Right?
You're totally correct. If people study the quantum manifestation series, all that is going to be very clear, because I download complex information of quantum knowledge.
Right.
And I know instantaneously how to break it down. And I also work with scientists where they come and they start talking stuff that I don't even know what they talk. All of a sudden I get information and we start interacting, and the extraterrestrials of the high consciousness teaches them, they teach me, and it's like an exchange of information, and that is the new beginning. We actually can start seeing the extraterrestrials by start matching their platform of reality. You do not go to their reality.
Okay.
You create between your reality and their reality, third reality, but you must hold the vibrational sequence and the memory so you will be able to continuously hold their vibration.
Okay. Now, so with this concept, then, this idea that we are then creating and manifesting our own matrix, as it were, right now is a great example, right? You and I are engaged in this conversation. You are projecting me into your matrix, right? And this experience. How is it then that I am doing the same thing and bringing that synergy together? Is it because our vibrance, our our frequency is matched up more closely? Is there some sort of a draw to like-minded people this way that are on the same spiritual wave?
Yes, because we're running on ascension protocol, and when two molecules, which is you and I, are in a similar vibrational sequence, they create between they create a third structure. That's why in a quantum structure, what we experience like now, 1 + 1 = 3. Between your reality and my reality, we're creating a third coexisting reality, and yet each one for itself, it's running on its own program.
Wow.
Does that make sense?
It does. It does, actually. I relate it to the truth or a story. There's your side, my side, and the truth in between, right? And it would make sense that two separate individual experiences combining together create a third matrix. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's how it is. That's how it is in a quantum structure, and that's between absolutely everything you see. The reason why you see this type of a platform, because you chose to experience ascension. We all came here for ascension, and yet a lot of times people have the right to choose if they want to go with it, or they simply got into the false structure and decided to go in the negative from greed, despair, and everything else. It's very easy to fall into, because money is not evil, but it separates you from the structure of the heart, and you're no longer running on that platform, because the exchange between the heart, which they taught me energy philanthropy, that's how they taught me energy philanthropy, because I said if I had a lot of money, I would have been philanthropist, and they told me that was the Council of Nine, and they told me, well, what makes you think you're not? And I said, what are you talking about? I don't have billions of dollars.
Right.
And they said, in actuality, Marina, this is an illusion. Money is an illusion. It's just a piece of paper. It's another hologram that is separating you from the heart. When you exchange through the money, you're not exchanging from the heart because the person really needs it. You actually exchange a piece of paper that has nothing to do with the heart.
Right.
So they said, what do you do all day? Are you helping without a condition? And I said, yes, because they forbid me to take money out of people. But if people decide to support my work, they can also do so if they wish to, because you don't put a condition on somebody and overtake their energy. This way you teaching them to stay in the heart and support you from the heart. And they told me that is completely different timeline. It has nothing to do with the archon. So that's what they said. If people wish to support each other, they can always support each other, because money is part of the structure. You cannot reject your own structure, because if we take the money right now, everything will collapse. But you can integrate it to help each other out, whatever shape and form we can, so we can build the infrastructure for eco city, free energy, when eventually it's going to be self-sustainable. And this is how you're going to move to utopia society and eventually interstellar society.
Okay. Now, I think I heard you say at one point in one of your interviews or one of your shows that, money itself doesn't have a vibration or a frequency of its own. So if you're asking for money, the cosmos don't understand what money is. It's just that empty shell of a symbol, right? But if you ask for...
It's not for itself, but it's constructing artificial structure which is not based on a high frequency, because consciousness is based mostly on a high frequency to manifest. When you're in a high frequency, all the vibrations that are coming, nothing is blocking them. Everything is coming easy to manifest back and forth, like a reverse osmosis. Everything is coming easy. But if I give you a condition of something, condition will happen to you, because you end up putting a blockage of a holographic imprint of something that you want, and this way it's going to be a barrier, something to come in. So instead for you to have everything to manifest quickly, you're going to have somebody also asking something from you through the money, because you end up projecting the structure of the money. Okay.
Now that
just... I don't leave everything open.
You know what that makes me think, though, Marina? It makes me think that somebody created that image or that archon or that idol for the purpose of holding us captive in their matrix.
Yes, very good. That's right, because there were consciousnesses that knew how powerful we are, because you're a battery.
Right.
You're a battery that can shift and move to platforms. We are very, very powerful, and we can create a lot of stuff. So imagine you tell that being that they're, and that's why they were projecting these videos. Anything you've seen on TV, somebody is actually projecting a reality for you. And when you massively believe that this is true, whatever they tell you, you're creating this reality. But if you know that this is manipulation, you can say, well, thank you very much.
Right.
You're neutralizing it, so no more running. Shut it out. And thank you very much, but I want to create something else. And then you start creating your realities. That's what they told me. You're free. Right now we're free because we can create through the quantum manifestation series, whatever they gave us there, that is the alchemy of creation.
Right.
And if you really, really want to look for that, believe me, the true information you're going to find from my harmonic reactor and the quantum manifestation series on my website and YouTube channel. Please pay close attention because I already saw that some people end up attaching themselves without my agreement to charge on Patreon with my materials.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this has been happening lately. I have to make a public statement because I just recently found out I cannot guarantee you that this is the true material or the true books. So if you really want to download the proper books and materials, it has to be through my channel and my YouTube and my marinajacobi.com website.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of manipulation going on.
Wow, that's not very well. There's always those who would try and take advantage of those, and they they might see you as trying to get ahead yourself when really you're just trying to do your own thing, and someone's going to try and capitalize on it.
No, I don't mind if they were doing it in the name of humanity. This was not in the name of humanity. You would never see my material on any type of platform that charges money because that is not energy philanthropy.
Right.
Energy philanthropy is to give in from the heart without expectations. If people want to support you, they can support you. They told me there's no difference between $1 and $1 million. If you need it, you're going to get it.
Right.
Vice versa, whatever you need. But it has to be through the structure of giving, not through the structure of conditioning.
Right. I absolutely agree. And on our last show with Matt Belair, he actually, and you might be aware of it, Marina, he has the kindness challenge that he's pushing out there and where you commit. And this was also through his friend, David Lombert. And they came up with this. Well, it's not even came up with. This is the truth of our history. Committing random acts of kindness so that you fall into that heart frequency. Committing a kind act for somebody else and how contagious it becomes. The feeling.
Yeah, that's philanthropy. This is exactly. Okay. I actually had a website that I did, energyphilanthropy.org, but I end up shutting it down because I need to revamp it and make sure that I have the enough funds to support it because we had a lot of people start coming in and not using it properly because right now it's a lot of changes and a lot of people that's starting with a good intention, and yet when they have a challenging time, they fall into despair and they start really using all that by basically manipulating and deceiving everything around themselves and asking for money and everything else that they do. So we have to, what they told me that this is normal to happen because anything that is off the balance with the heart structure is going to really literally pop out in front of us. That goes for individual situations, that goes for societies, that goes for governments. Anything that is off balance, everything they say is going to escalate to such an extent that you will no longer doubting who is in a negative side, who is in a positive, because even if you've been idealizing some kind of a politician or somebody, you all of a sudden going to see such a basically ridiculous behavior that you're going to start questioning, wait a minute here, this doesn't sound right, no matter how much I like this person, because you need to wake up of the deep trance in order for you to move forward.
Right. And I know, and I know I'm sure there's a lot of listeners and a lot of people that I've engaged in conversations with about this, even given my lack of real and true understanding while I'm still practicing. They look at me like I've got 10 heads, and it's unfortunate, but you just have to carry on and say, well, that's too bad that you're not understanding what I'm trying to share. And for those that do, let's engage in community and in conversation and build on this, right? I mean, the only way that it gets out there is by people like us spreading the message.
Yes, because more you stay on that, more you create in reality for yourself that the people that are going to start coming are based on that vibration. And that is why they taught me, for example, I remember I was invited to speak on a very big webinar with a lot of scientists for the second or third time. But my guidance told me, Marina, your material is being compromised. Okay. And I ended up confronting the people, and I said, what happened? So they told me that one of the scientists that they sent in my material ended up telling about my material that is based on intuition, is not a knowledge, which was complete lie. And 2 years later, the scientists ended up producing some technology, so-called, based on the heart. I'm not going to say the name. Because we all knew that was based on my material. But I panicked at that time. I said, oh, my God, this person is manipulating and stuff like that. So they told me that has nothing to do with you. You have to stay focused. And they told me it's all an illusion. And I said, what do you mean? They said, grab the vibration of the joy that you're speaking in front of a lot of people. Do moment to moment the best of yourself, of the best of your ability, because manifestation is in the now. And based what I do towards you right now, how I behave right now, what I feel, what I project, this is what I'm projecting in my hologram and shifting the next momentum into. So that, they said, if you hold that moment to moment to moment throughout your day, eventually you're going to crystallize reality that you're going to have all this joy and all the stuff. It doesn't matter who did what. You have to stay on the vibration. And I all of a sudden start posting everything, start enjoying, start helping everybody. And for all of a sudden somebody will call me, found me, and exploded everywhere to the point that I talked to people from all over the world. Yesterday I just talked from somebody from Uganda.
Wow.
People are finding from places that, I talked to almost every possible country I can think of.
Right.
People are finding me. So, and yet you don't see me like a huge promotional videos and stuff like this. That is because I'm running on my own matrix. I created my own matrix. And if you realize how the alchemy of your creation, of our creation works, what I do is possible for every single human being, because my job is to give you the information to become your own master of your own reality so you can create without needing me. So I can profit from you, because that's not my goal.
Right.
My goal is to spread out and give the information in the name of humanity.
That's right. And in the process, you'll have everything you need. You'll have food, you'll have a roof over your head, a car to get to work, right? So, yeah, the focus...
Yes, because when they taught me all this, I was literally told to stay home. My husband had a car accident, my child was sick, we had no money whatsoever, and they told me to drop everything and help. And through that process, I look like a crazy person. And through that process, they taught me manifestation. And in all my videos, you're gonna see stories and after stories how I start manifesting. Because there were situations that I would think of something, and somebody discovered my videos and send me $200, thanking me. And this is exactly the time that I needed probiotics for my son.
Right.
So all of a sudden, if I needed something, I'll get a donation out of people that I never, ever. And in my YouTube channel, in my website, you don't see to donate. You see if you wish to donate. That is because I'm living an open structure. So if you really have, and if you really wish to support me, you can support me in any shape and form.
Right.
That is an open structure. I don't reject the money because it's part of consciousness, but I co-create and coexist to come to me to any shape and form. That is the energy philanthropy.
Right.
When you don't put conditions.
So now, while we're on the topic then of abundance, or a lack thereof of abundance, there are, of course, a whole host of people in our own lives and in our communities and in our cities and in our countries that, might fall victim to the idea that they need to have millions of dollars, and they need to have the right job, and they need to have the right partner, and they need to have the big, beautiful house. And so it's very, very easy to stumble upon this objective or these objectives and to fall down spiritually and then have to pick yourself up with no experience, with no ideas, and with no knowledge as to how to do so. So what I want to ask you, Marina, is boiling this all down into one basic first step, what would you suggest to people who maybe are closed off to understanding or even wanting to listen to this idea or these ideas as a first step to reclaiming their awakening, for lack of a better word?
Thank you for that. Listen, I'm not trying to promote my material. I don't charge you for my material. You don't have to pay for anything if you don't have anything to support. Study the quantum manifestation series, because into that series, they show us what we are made of, how the matrix is created, how everything is constructed, and how we can own our reality. You're going to learn how to construct and deconstruct everything you wish to. That is fundamental information, because this way you'll be able to create your own world and your own matrix of reality, because we move into fifth-dimensional structure of abundance.
Right.
In order to do that, you have to know the alchemy of who we are, the mechanics of how this could be done. That is the truth. Then once you start studying this, you have to stay in a hard structure. Why am I using the word have to? Because I want you to create realities that are positive outcomes. Or because the earth is splitting up the multiple realities, one can go in a negative outcome, one goes into a positive outcome. In order for you to see the positive outcome, you have to think, act, and behave accordingly to that vibrational sequence in order to see this type of a platform of reality. And the reason for that is because consciousness is most of it on the positive, has a negative but also positive. Why? Because it has to survive, cannot destroy itself. So anything that comes out of balance will do everything possible to infinite to balance itself. Why we went to very negative? Because you have to go to the darkness in order to know what the light is. You need to know the difference. You need to know what is negative structure of a frequency does and what is positive structure of the frequency. In order to create, you need the yin and the yang.
Right.
How much of what in order to create a balance. And if you don't know that, you don't know what is negative, what is positive. That is the reason why we need to learn all that.
And the reality is, Marina, is that, history has been telling us this for thousands of years. I mean, you mentioned the yin yang. That's the Asian beliefs or the old Chinese beliefs. We see it right up into modern day with movies like Star Wars talking about the dark and the light force. They are telling us the secrets. They're putting them under our nose, but they're using it to manipulate our time structure or our matrix, right?
That's right.
And
that's right, because they knew that we can manifest. That's the reason. What did they tell us? You have to see it to believe it. In a quantum structure is exactly the opposite.
You have to believe it.
You have to believe it. You have to know it, because knowing is 100%. And you have to project it in order to construct it to see it. It's
right.
The opposite. This was huge manipulation. Or you praying to God or some kind of illusionary thing, and actuality God you are, because you're projecting every single image into your hologram. So how is it possible that somebody is outside of you?
That's right, exactly.
So if you pray to God, you have to say, I am something, and then you create accordingly to that. That was the manipulation, because you were actually watching yourself in a mirror image and telling yourself that the mirror image is the real you and you're nobody.
Right. Isn't that wild? That is wild. And a lot of that's got to be, I mean, it resonates with me. It's got to be resonating with other people. You have such just a great way of explaining it. I wanted to ask you earlier, Marina, because you'd mentioned at the beginning that this information came to you via the hybrids, right? You had also mentioned that when you were a little girl that you were very interested in UFOs and space and these kinds of things. Do you think it reasonable to suggest that that either two parts. One, that you manifested the delivery system for this information, and because of your interest and because of your lack of fear, that the two came together, that your experience was with hybrids or with aliens from another dimension, from another place in the universe, in order for you to receive the information? unchastised, or does that make sense?
Yes, very good question, but it's a lot deeper than that. Consciousness in the 1900s, the ETs and high consciousness tried already to convert the planet because it went very much in the dark and was completely taken over because the negative structure wanted to continue another 2,000-3,000 years of this manipulation.
Right.
Well, when consciousness is going into the next level, can no longer allow this to continue. So what happened in the 1940s, they implemented extraterrestrials and stuff like this that came in and talked to certain structures of government. But nothing worked because they were so corrupted. So what happened is because remember I discussed that your soul is running to a different parallel realities of consciousness. Mm-hmm. And the extraterrestrials is actually another version of us in another time of reality or the high consciousness.
Oh, okay.
So your version of you in a higher consciousness or ET end up making an agreement because planet Earth decided, listen, I'm bombarded here with a lot of stuff. I need help. So everybody from a different extraterrestrial groups, including councils, end up sending souls to occupy human beings of a higher dimensional frequencies because needed to be converted because was so corrupted. Okay. And nothing else worked. So in my situation, when I was born, they told me like when I was 13 or 14, this person get out and you are now this person. And I didn't know what happened, but I realized that I was a walk-in from Pleiadian structure.
Okay.
So my higher soul came from the Pleiadians, but walked into Marina's body with another version, and I continue with the lesson because it needed to be converted to hold the vibration.
Right.
And that was fundamental because somebody had to hold the vibration in order to do that and not being corrupted. That is the reason this material was given to me, because I made an agreement to complete it. And yet, when you come to planet Earth, you can get into corruption, you can get really, really confused. And so it was fundamental, certain level souls to come in order to be able to basically complete the mission, like a ground crew.
Right. Okay. Well, that does make sense. It makes perfect sense. Now,
they help. They really help you. I had situations that people tried to manipulate. You know what they did? They shut down the program. People couldn't even record me 3 times. Because they told me, do not appear in the show. I didn't listen. I appear. 3 times they tried to record me. 3 times the video was completely off. And they did similar stuff like this to me. When I don't listen, something is happening.
Right.
So I can complete whatever I need to complete.
Right. And, you know, I said it before, it's so important, and I think it's part and part with being dialed into that frequency, is you need to listen. You need, like, this is what I'm not going to go so far as to say that I've been, if I were to be more candid, I would tell you, Marina, that I have been in contact with a higher consciousness, and even gave me a name and a location within the universe. I'm going to tell you honestly, I don't remember what it was. I know I had the experience, and I think the reason I don't remember...
You did. May I tell you how?
Yes, please. Please do.
That's how they taught me. You're going to go and meditate, whatever is comfortable for you, and you're going to start creating the platform of whatever you think happened.
Okay.
And start talking and having a conversation. And the way they taught me is exactly this way. You cannot remember something if you did not exist in that reality already. That's quantum. You can't think of something if you don't exist in this parallel reality already, and yet you co-creating it in the now.
Gotcha. Yeah.
You can't do anything if you don't exist already in this platform, but you're also creating in the now. That's the quantum structure. But when you connect with your higher self, and you are telepathic, they can connect you and they can say, for example, they were telling me, you were with us last night in a spacecraft, and and they said, what did you see there? And I started thinking what I saw, and I started seeing some kind of an energy device, and I started explaining, and they said, try again. and they try again, and they said, correct, you on the right track. So that's how they start teaching me how, because it's in your memory cell.
Right.
But you have to extract it out of the memory bank for that particular frequency. And you're learning how to actually tune in into your structures, which is basically records of, they call it Akashic record, but it's not Akashic record, they're infinite Akashic record. So if somebody tells you, oh, you're being here or being there, guess what? Who knows what Akashic record of timeline they're reading on?
Right. Okay. Wow. So then I can tap back into it. I just find it, the truth that came to me, and the reason I told myself, or maybe it was, this higher entity telling me again that I need to tune myself back in. And there are certain things I need to do. And it boils down to diet, exercise, not smoking, not drinking too much coffee. There are a whole plethora of things that I know that I need to do. And the funny thing is that when I resist it, then I'm out of touch. There's no sound. There's no receiving the signal. And as soon as I start to make attempts to dial myself back in, both physically, spiritually, and mentally, then boom, bada bing, things start happening, right? Mm-hmm. So
because then you're projecting the frequency to happen. There's no barriers, things to happen for you. You're not plastering another hologram of condition. When you put a condition, basically when you ask for something and it's not from the heart, you're actually plastering another holographic reality like a veil in front of the true self of yours. So it's a false illusion, and it's not the foundation of your platform of reality is false.
Okay.
And it's going to be difficult to manifest whatever you want because you put another reality in front of it.
In front of it, right.
Another program is running in front of your true self.
So it's, if we were to relate it for layman's terms, you've got applications running on your laptop and you've got up 60 screens and you can't see the one that you really need to because you've pulled up all this other crap in front of it, basically.
Absolutely. Think of your reality as a computer. Think of it as a matrix of geometry and sequences of frequencies of numbers and geometry. Okay, right. And it's funny to me because, I've got other friends that I can really touch base with on these types of things. And one friend that I have in mind, Darcy, he talks a lot about numbers and numerology, the sacred geometry. And I just couldn't understand it. And, of course, it all relates to this quantum idea. And you just helped to kind of break it down for me. And, even though I might not understand it the way that you teach it or the way you share it, you've enabled me to take it and compress it into a fashion that works for me. It's still, I'm able to move pieces around and make it much easier to digest, Well, it's basically will become very, very easy if you really study the quantum manifestation series, because I'm in front of a whiteboard and I'm literally explaining, breaking down to very simple words. And once you're starting to resonate your synapses to a certain understanding, everything else basically becomes like the puzzle. You just perfect, every piece is coming to the right location, because you got to convert your thoughts into a new level of thinking, and that takes a little bit of repetition because we're being basically manipulated. You got to convert everything, restructure everything in your consciousness.
Now, here's my next thought, Marina. Now, I've seen some of your videos where you're actually, you're showing the cells, you're showing the vibration, the hertz. There's real science to this. Have you, a two-part question, have you come into contact with anybody from the scientific community, and what do they think about what you're sharing?
Yes, I actually, I have a video. If you go to Harmonic Reactor and you press and you look at for the interviews, you're going to see me on Physique. A lot of not only quantum scientists are coming there. I belong there. I appear sometimes there. I talk to I have scientists calling me, including doctors, nano-quantum scientists, and we discuss different things, or if information is needed to be given. Not totally public from the big names. Even I have people with big names calling me, because I I think what they told me is still a lot of ego involved, and I have to be very honest with the situation here.
Okay.
And one time, one of them called me and told me, "You're spot on. I totally believe you." And yet, I know I was checked because you don't know who these people are working for.
Right.
And I was asked if I think that humanity should have the technology revealed, free energy, and I said absolutely. And I think this was a check for me, if they can work with me or not work with me. And I said, and the person told me, well, I don't think so, humanity is ready yet. And I said, with all due respect, for what type of parallel reality you implying for? Because I said, in my reality, humanity is ready. You can basically explain to humanity, educate humanity, and we can move forward. If you believe that humanity is not ready, this is what you're projecting, and
Right.
that's what you're going to create for yourself.
Right.
Because I was explaining through the quantum structure. So a lot of stuff is happening behind the scenes. And what they told me, and this is I'm quoting, that they are going to work with the scientists, with the channels, the scientists. It has to be co-existence, working together. The ones that are going to go ahead are the ones that are in the heart, and the ones that they said I'm quoting, your fame, glory, and ego is not going to be the criteria for us. The ones that are going to be working with the high consciousness, the ET, for the better of humanity, so we can go eventually into stellar and meet with the ETs and stuff like this, they're going to be handpicked, and they will be the one that's really holding the vibration in the name of humanity without including anything for greed.
Right. I shake my head. I shake my head, Marina, because and I'm not religious, but it reminds me of the Bible, and I often, on occasion, have fantasized that Jesus Christ was an alien, and he came to the planet and he tried to save the planet and its people, and this idea of the resurrection or the return of the Messiah, it's the same allegory. It's the same thing. It really is.
The resurrection was changing the timelines and the frequency.
That's
and
right.
He knew exactly the quantum structure. He knew very well this manipulation.
That's right. And he did promise a return when we were ready.
The Messiah was nobody outside of us to save us. The Messiah was the quantum structure because you are it.
Right.
And you are the one that's saving yourself by imprinting reality and shifting yourself in a timeline for ascension. So the Messiah is you.
It's and it's crazy to try and separate that, right? You want to tie it to your physical self. Yeah. It's incredible. And I think what you've done, Marina, the best way that I can put a cap on this, if I needed to, was that you are marrying science and spirituality together. You have joined them in union. Yes,
that's what they implanted with that because I was able, after I read a lot of some of the scientists, what they gave me, I actually connected the bridge in between.
Absolutely.
Because science and spirituality is one. There's no difference.
I agree. And the reason I say that is because the message you're sharing is, it resonates with me. And I can't deny truth, that truth resonance, that truth frequency, hence the name of my show, Truth Hurts Radio. I just can't argue with it. And like a good friend of mine says, give me the facts are stubborn. And in my opinion, what you're saying resonates so richly that it is factual to me, to my matrix, right?
Well, to your friends, I can give them a fact. If you have some kind of a molecule, and you start resonating this molecule with a certain frequency, this molecule is starting to imprint the resonance and mimicking the resonance that is there. When you start combining them, they can become a matter. They can materialize and dematerialize. Prime example is when you have a glass and you put a frequency. I'm sure a lot of people see this glass starting to wiggle, almost like a water, and all of a sudden shatters. But guess what? With the computer and consciousness itself, you can construct back to normal the same glass. But you're not doing the same glass, you're actually constructing a brand new version of the glass.
Well, it would have to.
Teleportation
It would have
is
to
the
be
same
that
way.
way in order to create balance in the universe, right? There has to, for every forward, there is a reverse. That would only make sense to me.
That's right.
So it's almost like,
Teleportation-
sorry, go ahead.
Teleportation, for example, is when you recall the frequency vibration of a location, measure it with the frequency vibration of your location, and find the difference. And when you zap it, you teleport to create a porthole from one location to another, and this is your teleportation.
Right.
That's how you teleport in a simple, ways. Through your thoughts, you can create technology. Why is that? Because consciousness is mimicking the vibrational sequence, and this is how you create ether technology. Your phone can respond to your thoughts. Imagine that.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Yeah. Well, and that's where I've said earlier, the powers that be have been telling us a long time. Even things like, Star Trek, where Captain Jean-Luc Picard says, tea, Earl Grey, 72 degrees, and it appears.
Yes.
Because they're doing exactly that, right? They're replicating that frequency to create exactly that structure.
That's right. That's how, actually, by the way, the ET, basically spacecraft, are based on artificial intelligence that is coexisting with humans, but you don't have a metal in it.
Right.
It's reading the resonances, and you actually create a life structure spacecraft that is specifically designed for your consciousness, and you actually drive the ET craft with your thoughts in your mind. And they taught me how to do that. It's phenomenal.
Wow, eh?
Well,
so it's, and if you broke this all, some people could look at this like, oh, wow, this is just too much, too scientific, right? But I think it really,
all right.
through the subconscious, it boils down to simplicity.
Yeah, I'm planting the seeds right now, and when the momentum comes in, I'm sure we'll find a place and flourish in everybody's mind, whatever the momentum comes.
I agree. And I am certainly putting my efforts and my energies towards that day, absolutely. Although, I can't look at it as the future. But for the purpose of being on this density, this rock, that's maybe easier for most people to look at it that way. It's something far off from today, but the reality is it probably already exists.
If I may, I would think of it that whatever you wish to happen, you have to think of it that exists right now, and you have to behave as of right now, because as of right now, the vibration that you're creating this is what the reality of the hologram you're shifting into.
Wow. Yeah,
That's
right. Right. It's already there.
It's already here, and I'm acting upon it even if I don't see it, because I have to project it, create it, and manifest it, build it in order to see it.
Right. Now, do you think there's power in multiple or group manifestation? Is it more likely that a manifestation can be created by having more people involved? Or is it just got as much power on the individual?
The group manifestation is coming into your reality hologram by you imprinting another versions of yourself.
Okay.
So the potency is different, and it is still an illusion, because you yourself can reach that potential of frequency, and that's the mastery.
Right. Wow. It blows my mind. Every time it makes sense to me, it blows my mind again. I have to look up and I go, wow, I get it, and it does work.
Because you quantize way. You quantize. People need to realize that if you're talking about, if somebody did something negative to you 10 years ago,
right,
and you be molested or anything else, any situation, understand that you're talking about another version of yourself that has nothing to do of who you are right now. Right now, you are in a brand new earth, on a brand new reality, in the momentum. 10 years ago was another version of you, another person. What you did right now, you reprint it, and reprinting everybody in it that has nothing to do with you.
Right.
So if you talk about the past, you bring in vibrational sequence from that reality, you bring in them in the now momentum, you're starting to resonate in this frequency, and don't be surprised why the same similar situations are happening. If it's not from this person, through another version of another person.
Right.
It's from the same program of a frequency.
And the same feelings, obviously.
And the same feelings are projecting different versions of an imprint, and yet the same similar situations.
And that's what you're talking about, running another program in front of the one you're in, right?
Shut the program down.
Wow.
And this is how you shut it down when you study the quantum manifestation. It's very specific protocol to do it.
Okay.
Once you study it, once you learn it and practice, trust me, you're going to see how things are going to keep changing.
Well, I have been practicing, Marina, and it wasn't that long ago. It might have been a year ago that I said, I want to be a podcaster. I love and have been complimented with my voice, and I thought, you know what, a little bit of ego driven there in the beginning, but and then I dreamt one day that I wanted to have a couple of the celebrity people online in this universe on my show, and I'm living it. I'm absolutely living it right now. And
sorry when you said that, but I did think that your voice is very nice.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
You're right. Yes,
it might be just one of those gifts that I've been given, right? And I've been hearing it a long time.
Listen, what we do, you always feel good. You always have people that thank you, and I always have people that thank you. But I always keep myself grounded by absolutely being honest with myself. If you guys listen to my videos, you're going to hear when I put my ego, I give an example with it and what I did and the silly thing. That's because I'm also going through the human experience and I'm learning through the process.
Right. Okay. Well, I got to tell you, Marina, I thank you so much. We are hitting sort of the top of our time mark here for my typical podcasts. Can you tell us where my listeners and myself, where we can find you, where we can get in touch with as much information that you're putting out there as possible?
Well, thank you for that. If you would like to watch the Quantum Manifestation series, it's on YouTube, The Harmonic Reactor. And you're going to see season 1, season 2, and all my videos. You can find me, or if you want to book a session, it's on Marina Jacobi, JACOBI.com. And you can sign into my YouTube channel or my, site, so I can send you whatever. I have webinars and stuff like that. All my material is available for everybody from my heart. And if you wish to donate, you can always do it from the heart. You're not obligated. Everything is easy to download. You don't go through PayPal to download.
Right.
You just download. Because I wish if you donate, to donate from the heart. That has nothing to do with condition.
Right. Now,
I appreciate support.
Your books, Marina, are they hard copy books or are they online books, ebooks?
Everything is ebook, and the reason for that is because people wanted to manipulate the material.
Right.
That is the reason I kept it on my site. The only way you're going to get the true material is from my site and from my YouTube channel, the videos. Because, again, it was recently discovered that people manipulated it. And why so fundamental? Because the entire material of the harmonic reactor and nano is written on a 5th dimensional. It's a sequence. The words are sequences. That's why I was not allowed to change one word.
Okay.
And because that is activating your DNA, RNA, you're going to study this in my structure on a 5D. So it's complex, the books, but it's giving you a certain sequences and is planting a seed for technology.
Right. Okay.
So that's why. I would wish for you guys to read it.
Okay. Well, it's an activator, right? Like you said, at the genetic level, it's activating.
So please, again, do not trust any other sites. I cannot guarantee you the authenticity of the material from there.
Okay. Perfect. Well, I'll be sure, Marina, to when I post this up online at the variety of platforms that I'm trying to stretch it out to, I'll be sure on my Facebook page as well to put some links that show people how to get to your website, and as well some of your YouTube videos and your YouTube channel, right? So we'll make sure that I am at least directing them in the right direction, and without allowing imposters to come in and spoil this.
Yes, that's right. On the YouTube channel, you have to press the bell button. When I download a new video, then you're going to get notification.
Okay. All right. Perfect. Well, Marina, my heart has opened via this episode. I want to thank you so much for taking the time, if for nobody else, just for me, to allow me to have this time with you and ask these questions and get these answers and this information. It's really, really important that I do this not only for myself, but for my listeners as well. And I just want to thank you for your time.
Well, I want to thank you for having me. Thank you so much for your support. That was very kind of you to do so and to spread the word in the name of humanity. From my heart to all of you, I love you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Marina. Stay on the line while I just say goodbye to our listeners.
All right.
Well, there you have it, folks. Marina Jacobi, right here on Truth Hurts Radio. What a wild experience that was for me. I hope you enjoyed the show. What did you think? Be sure to attend the Facebook page, Charlie Chatters, and let me know. Put up some comments, or put some comments up on iTunes, reviews, stars, whatever you think. I thought, if you've ever had questions about quantum manifestation, quantum entanglement, the harmonic reactor, the energy anthropology view on things. I think that pretty much laid it out, certainly as a 101, an introduction to this kind of a topic. So I was very, very thrilled and very excited to have Marina on the show, and I had a lot of fun with that. So I'll be sure to post up links where you can find Marina Jacobi if you are interested in checking out her webpage or checking out a lot of her lectures that are available on her YouTube channel. There's just a ton of really, really, really good information there. Now, I will say this as a disclaimer to my naysayers, and I'm sure that there are going to be those of you who just think, wow, this just went, way too up, way too far out there. But I want to suggest an idea for you. This is no more surreal than basically looking at mainstream information and believing what Fox TV tells you, and believing what you read in the Globe and Mail. Any mainstream media source that's pumping out information about politics, about science, about the environment. It's no more out there than any of that nonsense that we're reading. And I think if you pay attention to what's going on inside you, you will quickly surmise that the truth will resonate with you. So, that's about that. I'm not going to keep it short because that was an extremely long podcast, an extremely long show for us. And I was delighted again. Big thanks to Marina for coming on the show. And hopefully down the road somewhere, we'll have a 102 on quantum manifestation and the harmonic reactor. All right. Please, reminding folks, listeners out there, that you can find us on Facebook at Charlie Chatters Truth Hurts Radio. As well, we are widely and freely available on iTunes, Spreaker Radio, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and as well Patreon for those who are able and willing to throw $1 in the tip jar. Greatly appreciated for those of you that can. Otherwise, I would strongly urge, once again, as I keep this program going, the Kindness Challenge. Keep it up. Keep it up. Get out there, get outside, and start thinking about outside of yourself and thinking about other people and looking for opportunities to share some kindness and to open your heart. Because I assure you that the more that you do that, the more concepts like were discussed on today's show will make sense to you and will start to take seed within you and hopefully produce magic for you, as it certainly has for me. Without carrying on too much longer, we're going to take this out old school. Again, I like drumming up the old intro. It's kind of fun. I thank you folks for dialing in to Truth Hurts Radio. I'm your host, Charlie Chatters.
Charlie Chatters on his talk radio show, and he never shuts up.